So, what did you miss at Jubilee today? Well, it's the second Sunday of Easter, and you missed all that great Easter stuff. But right up front, you missed the moment we took to light the Christ candle and celebrate not only the blood donor clinic that we had on Friday in honor and love of Alistair Hoy, a young man who died 4 years ago, whose joy of life we carry with us to this day. We acknowledge that on Friday we collected 164 units of blood at the clinic in his name and honor. And of those units, 50 were first-time givers. We also raised $10,000 for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society of Canada. But we also acknowledge that in the 4 annual clinics that we have hosted, that Cynthia and Gary Hoy have managed, that the community have created, we've collected 789 units of blood, and we have initiated 351 first-time donors. And we've raised over $54,000 for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society of Canada. That's a lot of lives changed. So we took a moment to light the Christ candle, to recognize the light of Christ in every volunteer, every donor, every act of love that goes into 789 units and $54,000. And then we went on to listen to John tell the follow-up to the Easter story, where the disciples are hidden behind locked doors, afraid, and Jesus appears to them. Thomas unfortunately misses the event and proclaims that he's willing to believe if he can actually see Jesus. And so Jesus comes back, and Thomas gets to see the wounds, gets to touch, and so declares, "My Lord, my God." Well, we talked about that story in John a little bit, how well crafted it is, and wondered if it really happened. And then recognized that John is not interested in writing history. John is trying to tell us about faith. It's not a history lesson. It's a tool. It's a series of tools. It's a series of reflections and observations for here and now, right in this moment. And as we listen to the story, we may recognize little things, like the idea that faith can get in behind locked doors, behind locked minds and locked hearts. In the story, Jesus suddenly appears. There he is. Faith works that way sometimes too. We can try very hard to keep it out, and yet, if we open our eyes, we discover it's found a way in. God's like that. We recognize that faith is a decision. Thomas actually makes a great statement of faith, and he's the first of the disciples to make it. The others recognize that Jesus wasn't dead, but Thomas says, "My Lord, my God." Thomas acknowledges in faith that Jesus is a complete revelation of God, so full and magnificent that there's no need in even discerning between the two. For him, Jesus is God, all that he ever needed. And in calling him Lord, he recognizes that this will be the way that he lives his life from here on out. That's a faith statement. The others didn't make that statement. They just noted that Jesus was alive, and they were astounded. But Thomas makes a faith statement. So we recognize that faith is a decision. It was a decision for Thomas 2,000 years ago. It's a decision for us today. We can't just assume that we've been born into it, that it'll just sort of stick to us. It's a decision that we make. As we listen to the story, other parts of it remind us that what we do matters. When we despair, when we curse people, when we are angry with them, we communicate something about the God in whom we believe. We communicate something about our faith. And so, as Christians, as people of faith, we can no longer be anonymous. We recognize that what we do matters. And we need to be up to that responsibility. And finally, we recognize that when all is said and done, this gift of faith is a gift of peace. Not a contest where we get to prove our faith is better than somebody else's. Not a short road to riches and great success, not the erasing of scars, but peace. Peace in knowing that we will survive our scars. Peace in knowing that God is not a bystander, but an active participant in life. Peace in knowing that we are not alone. Peace in knowing that love survives 2,000 years ago, and today, and tomorrow, and the next day. That's the message that you missed at Jubilee today. Hopefully you can ponder it yourself, recognize the power of it, and hopefully we get to see you next week. God bless.